Hi, I'm Libby Gibson, Town Manager. Welcome to What's Going On in Town Government. So Gino, it's crazy busy in town government. Crazy busy.
Why?
There's so many things happening. The budget, capital projects for next year. We've got the special town meeting coming up. We're planning for the annual town meeting. We've got some forums we're working on. The day-to-day, the projects, the house moves, the road openings. There's so many things happening.
I don't know how you keep up with this.
I don't either. So at the board meeting this week, we had a whole bunch of announcements, and we're going to have some of these announcements on an ongoing basis for a few more weeks, including a weekly briefing on the Nantucket Harbor Shimo Plus Sewer Extension Project from the sewer director. David Gray will come in and give the board, a brief overview of where the project is and if there's any particular issues that have come up. He's kind of doing the same thing with the C Street pump station renovation and the Surfside wastewater treatment facility upgrade project. Okay, we have a forum coming up on recreational marijuana. It is scheduled for next Thursday, October 26th at 4:30 at the Public Safety Building. This forum is meant, the main reason for the forum is for the public to give input to the Board of Selectmen about recreational marijuana. So in November 2016, there was a statewide referendum approved by the voters of Massachusetts to legalize marijuana. And since then, there have been a lot of rule and regulation changes, the setting up of the needed administrative structure to regulate it. And cities and towns are all figuring out where they would want to have recreational or retail sales shops. And some communities have done an outright ban. They're not allowed in their community. Some have done a moratorium, which is a temporary ban, so that they can figure out where they want it and not rush into it. That is what we are doing.
How come we're not banning it like other towns?
Well, a couple of reasons. First of all, the town of Nantucket was a town that voted in favor of legalization. Secondly, the selectmen want to respect that and work within that approval by the voters. Now, there are some towns in Massachusetts that also voted, where the voters voted for the referendum, but they have put forward a ban. So it's all over the board. Now, if you did that in your town, I think there's a ballot question I think is involved anyway if you're going to ban it. There may be an additional requirement. If you were a town that voted for it and now you want to ban it, there may be an additional requirement that you need to do in order to ban it. Anyway, the point of the forum, like I said, is we're going to give a brief overview of the law and any subsequent regulations that have come out so far. It's very dynamic right now. And we're going to give a brief overview of the articles that are on the November 6th special town meeting warrant that will deal with the zoning and the moratorium.
So the forum, is that the selectmen?
Okay, well, let me finish. There's a panel, and it'll be a couple of selectmen, the health director, someone from planning, I believe it'll be the deputy director of planning, Leslie Snell, and somebody from ASAP, I believe, Alliance for Substance Abuse Prevention, and I forget who else, but the police chief, I believe. And the panel is just meant to be there to answer questions, really, and or give their perspective on something. But the main purpose, like I said, is for the public to come and ask questions and make comments. What do you think as a member of the public, as a citizen, about this law? Do you think we should have a ban? Do you think we should not have a ban? Do you think we should allow retail shops on Main Street? What do you think? The board is really looking to get public input here. So again, next Thursday, October 26th, 4:30 at the Public Safety Building.
That'll be interesting.
Yes. Children's Beach Boat Ramp is going to be closed from October 31st through January 15th. It's for getting repaired. The annual town meeting warrant for 2018 is now open for citizen submittals until November 20th. And the special town meeting, as I just mentioned, starts on November 6th. Well, hopefully it'll only be on November 6th. That is a Monday. What else did we do this week? Those were our announcements. Oh, the assessor came in and talked about the residential exemption And the tax rate shift, which is something that the board has a public hearing on annually, it's required annually in order to set the tax rate for the current year.
That
And-
was confusing. Could you explain that a little
Oh,
bit?
boy, Gino, I don't know if I can.
God, I could
Okay,
not follow
well,
that.
it gets a little bit technical, but in a nutshell, towns in Massachusetts are allowed to have what's called a residential exemption. So what that means is that a certain percentage of the value of your property, a percentage of it can be exempt from your taxes, basically. I wish I had a little bit of an example, but, so you live here, you own property here, you are entitled to what's called a residential exemption. So it's a little bit of a lesser, it's a lesser tax bill than someone who is not eligible for the residential exemption.
Do they have to live on Nantucket?
Yes, must live on Nantucket, you must provide proof of that. In any event, right now our residential exemption is 20%. It's been 20% for a long, long time. And recently, there was an act enacted by the state called the Municipal Modernization Act, and one of the provisions of it was to allow municipalities to go up to 35% for the residential exemption. Previously, it was capped at 20.
Wow.
So the board had some discussion about whether or not they should increase it to 25, to 30, to 35. So the assessor was explaining what the impact would be overall, depending on the level that you go to. They also talked about the tax rate shift, which basically is, of all the property on the island, or anywhere in Massachusetts where you are, there's a shift depending on the class of tax. So there's residential, commercial, often there's open space. And so residential pays, a certain portion of the overall taxes, commercial pays a certain portion, and open space pays a certain portion. So open space is the lowest, and then residential, and the highest is commercial. So there are ways in which to shift the taxes to among those classifications. So they were talking about that.
So if you're a resident,
That's where it gets technical.
Can you have a residential commercial property and be a resident and still get a break on your commercial tax?
It's the residential portion.
It's only the residential
Yes,
portion? Okay,
yes.
all right. Well, that's interesting. So
Yeah.
when do we make a decision on that?
There's a public hearing on November 15th to set the shift and set the residential exemption.
That's really, I'm surprised. I thought you were going to say, once again, that, it's time to pay more, folks. It could be that, right? Not
Maybe.
you, I'm not blaming you.
No, no,
but it
I
seems
know.
every time we turn around, there's another tax or something to pay for.
That is our life in America.
Nobody gets a break. It just keeps, unless
Well, people,
unless we get a tax break. then
but
it's
people
due
do get a break
Congress.
here on the island
Yes,
with
that's
local
true.
property taxes because we have a residential exemption. There are more communities that do not have a residential exemption than do.
Right.
Anyway, we also talked a bit about an initiative that some citizens have sort of tried to get underway or are getting underway regarding improvements to the Tom Nevers Park. And we were talking a little bit about what that involves and what they can do. We're going to be seeking some funds at the 2018 annual town meeting for a master plan, and the idea is to reappropriate some existing funds for that, so it wouldn't be new money. And we were talking about what the citizens could start doing in advance of that, if they want to.
Dan Drake interviewed them, and there's a nice piece on my website with
Good.
those folks.
Good. I mean,
Good
yeah.
look at what they want to do. And
Yeah,
what that
I
could
think their
become.
efforts are really to be commended to
Definitely.
get it underway like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
The board also had a little bit of items to report under the committee report section of the agenda. Next week at the board meeting, we're going to have an update about Harbor Place, the proposed development where the Tank Farm old electric company property is, previously called Wilkes Square. And we're going to get an update on where that project is in the process. There is some town meeting action that's going to be needed specifically regarding zoning changes in that area. And we're going to see, who's sort of doing what right now. There's also going to be a request to accept a gift of approximately $75,000 from the owners of Harbor Place. The town is not an owner. And those funds would be used for the town to hire its own consultant to look at the feasibility of an intermodal transportation center, which would likely include a parking garage, and as well as some other transportation-oriented facilities. And we also actually have already looked at some consultants and have a recommendation to the board for one that specializes in this area, so we'll be talking about that. The island.
When could that possibly get going, Libby?
Okay, so the tank farm needs to move before anything can really happen there, and like I said, these zoning changes need to get enacted by town meeting. But say all that happens, the tank farm permitting is underway now because the town has under agreement a piece of property that it will be selling to Harbor Fuel to move the tank farm out of town at a site near the airport. So that permitting is underway. The permitting takes quite a while, as you might imagine. It's very environmentally oriented. And once all that's done and they start construction, I'm not sure that construction will take that long, but I think that in the 2019-2020 timeframe is when the tank farm would be essentially rebuilt elsewhere, and then the property would be available for development. But there's a lot of planning that has to be done and review by town boards of the proposal, and things will have to be relocated. There may be some infrastructure that's needed within the development itself. So it's within the next 3 to 5 years, I'm going to say, where things are going to really get underway there. The Human Services Director is going to come in and give the board a little bit of an update about some recent building improvements to our island home and where we are with those. We're going to get an update from the DPW Director about the Downtown Sidewalk Improvement Project, Phase 1. We have a bunch of real estate items. I mentioned the Marijuana Forum. Again, the Marijuana Forum is on Thursday, October 26th at 4:30. We also have another forum planned right now regarding the 6 Fairgrounds Road housing project. This is town-owned land. We've been spending a lot of time the last couple of years working towards securing a developer to develop a housing project on this town land. It will remain town land. The town will have a land development agreement with the developer as well as a long-term lease for housing there. And it's a mix of market rate units, affordable units, and apparently very recently some citizens have come forward who have some concerns about the project. And we decided it would be a good idea to schedule a public forum on the project to answer concerns and questions. That forum will be on Monday, October 30th at 5 p.m. at the community room in the public safety facility. Yep, it's coming up. So those are some of the things that are going on. I'm going to check my book. Oh, budgets. We're spending a lot of time, or we're about to launch into reviewing departmental budgets with all the departments and putting together a town administration recommendation on the budget. That'll be given to the board in December. We're spending a lot of time meeting with the departments also on their capital projects. Capital Program Committee is meeting once a week to review those projects. That will culminate in a joint meeting between the FinCom, Finance Committee, Capital Program Committee, and Selectmen to work towards formulating a recommendation to town meeting. Town meeting, mark your calendars, is scheduled for Tuesday, April 3rd. Write that down. 2018 annual town meeting, nice. Tuesday, April 3rd. So there's a lot of stuff going on, Gino. I'm scanning through my calendar here. We have a big meeting coming up on Tuesday with a bond rating agency called Moody's. And this is a big deal. We would like to get an increase in our bond rating. We don't have too far to go to get to the top for our classification of municipality. And so we have the rating agency representatives coming on Tuesday, and we're going to give them a tour, and we're going to give them a presentation about the town and its operations and management and all that kind of thing. That's pretty much all day Tuesday.
So what are they really going to look at?
Well, they look at,
from
they have,
paying your bills.
Well, they have a specific set of criteria that they use to measure municipalities' ability to do certain types of things. There's financial management, there's how well you stick to your financial policies, there's what your tax base is like, there's the types of operations you have. We have some unusual operations here that other towns don't have, or that might not be occurring in every town. For example, we have a municipally run nursing home. One other town in Massachusetts right now has a municipally run nursing home. It is not a normal municipal operation. We have an airport. We have a town dock facility. We have our own contained school system. We have 2 wastewater treatment facilities. We have a landfill. We have a water company. We have, it's a bit unusual for one town to have all of those things. And obviously, because of our location and our situation here, we kind of need to have all of it because we're removed from everything.
Do they look down on that?
They don't look down on it, but they look at your ability to keep these things operational and functioning either in a self-sustaining way, like user fees. So the sewer department, for example, is a self-sustaining department. Its operations run on the revenues that it generates from sewer fees. Same with the water company. Same with the airport. The solid waste enterprise fund and the Our Island Home enterprise fund, while they are enterprise funds, are not fully self-sufficient. There are tax subsidies
So
to
Moody's
keep them
would
going.
decide to put us in a higher bracket, and that means we get better bond rates if we need
Correct.
to borrow.
And therefore,
Or
our
when we
debt
need to
service payments would be theoretically
Got it.
somewhat lower.
Yeah.
So we're hopeful that we will make a good impression. So that's coming up next week. A lot of budget reviews next week. I am the speaker at Rotary next Wednesday, to talk about the special town meeting. And I believe I am the speaker at the Nantucket Town Association
Wow.
next Tuesday.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Busy.
And then we have the marijuana forum on Thursday. I might have
Will
to
you
take
be,
next Friday off.
you're going to be there for that, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I might be the moderator.
Really?
Look out,
You're going to
Sarah.
wear your marijuana t-shirt?
Oh, I should. Should I? I should.
Yeah, you could
Yeah, I
do
could
that
bring my
with,
kit.
with the round 60s glasses. Libby, you'd be great. It'd be a fashion
I'm
statement.
not going to do that.
You won't do it, huh?
No, but I mean, there's not much to the moderator for this thing. It's really an introduction of what we're doing and why, and the panel, and then taking questions. I mean, that's what we're really hoping for, questions and comments.
But we need a really good moderator for that.
Do you want to do it?
I think we should try to get Cheech and Chong to do it.
Okay, Gino. Okay, now you're
All right,
getting silly.
I
You're
gotta
just
have
getting
fun.
silly now.
Speaking of fun, didn't you just come back from a beautiful island?
I did.
Tell us about it.
Well, it was a quick-ish trip to Bermuda. My husband and I have celebrated our 25th wedding anniversary this year. We went on a trip there without our children.
Ooh.
It was beautiful. I have been to Bermuda before, not for quite a while, and it was just as beautiful as ever. Not as beautiful as Nantucket, of course, but it was very warm. The weather was great. The issue with Bermuda is the transportation.
Okay.
It's not that easy to get around there. You can't rent a car.
You can't.
No, there's a bus system, a very robust bus system, but certain areas of the island it stops at a certain time, so then you need to rely on a cab. The cabs are very, very expensive. If anybody thinks the cabs are expensive here, go to Bermuda.
And Uber? Is it?
No Uber.
There's no Uber.
No, they do have a relatively new program, it seems, for these tiny electric cars. They're about half the size of a smart car.
Wow.
And you can get, I guess you can get to one end of the island on a charge. You might not be able to get all the way back, so there are charging stations around, but where we were staying, we were gonna do that.
They're just tiny, like,
They're just tiny.
lady smart cars? Like
But
a smart-
they are like half the size of a smart car, and the seats are driver's seat, and then the passenger seat is right behind it.
No
It's not
way.
side by side.
Wow.
I didn't actually see many on the road. I saw a couple in a parking lot.
Did you get any ideas about what we could do?
I
Are there
did get
some good ideas
well, I
there?
did get a couple of ideas that I'm going to pass along to some other people. And for example, they have this kind of neat activity you could do where you go around to different sort of historical sites, and you get something from each site, and at the end you get this sort of certificate signed by the I guess it was maybe the mayor of the city of Hamilton, and I think they call that person the worshipful mayor or something like that. It was a kind of a cool name. Maybe we should think about the worshipful town manager.
I was just thinking that, you know.
Or we could change my...
Or Her Highness, maybe, or...
Sure. Yeah, that would go over
Okay,
huge. Anyway, I thought that was kind of neat. Maybe we could work in something about our cultural district into that. They also had, we kind of have this here a little, but the America's Cup was there in June, and so there's some stuff that was left behind or put in place then. So they've got water stations where you can fill your water bottle up. Now we could do that obviously at a water fountain. There aren't too many in town, but there are some coffee shops where you can get water bottle fill-ups and
How
stuff.
do they deal with their trash and all that, do you know?
Well, we drove by a landfill one day, so they have a landfill, but
Yeah.
I'm going to say that I noticed a lot of trash bags on the side of the road and loose trash.
Ooh. It's about the same size as Nantucket, is that correct? It is bigger.
Actually, it's about 24 miles long, and no, is that right? Don't quote me on that. I want to say that the square miles of the island is 24. So it's long, but it's narrow in width, and we have 50 square miles, so we're bigger, but they're more spread out. And their roads, I mean, if you've been there, you know.
What about the population? Is it
Population
like our summer?
is 65,000 year
So
round.
it's like our summer, all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
The roads, Gino, have you been there? The
No.
roads are crazy narrow.
You know, I'd like to go there and do a show on it. I think it would be fascinating
The people
for
are
Nantucketers.
really wonderful. The roads are really, really narrow, and of course they drive on the wrong, I'm going to say this, the wrong side of the road. They say we drive on the wrong side of the road, but I say they do. You could rent a moped too, but you're putting your life in your own hands, unless you really know what you're doing with a moped.
No problem for me.
There's not a lot of sidewalks. We walked a little bit, but
Yeah.
it's not.
They should have bike paths.
There's not a lot of bike paths. They do have something of a rail trail that does run along an old abandoned railroad, route, but it doesn't go the entire island. But it's really nice, the areas where they had it.
Good.
That was my trip.
I'd like to go and check it out, definitely.
I wanted to go see the sewer treatment plant, David Gray, but we didn't get to it. Because the cab ride was probably really expensive.
Right.
Anyway, it was very nice and very relaxing. And then I jumped right back. We got back on the late boat on Tuesday, and I jumped right back in Wednesday with, whew.
All right. Couldn't wait to get back, right?
Couldn't wait to get back.
There you go.
Of course, I love coming back here. Anyway, it's going to be a beautiful weekend.
Yep.
The weather's great. It's creepily warm, but
Let's keep it going.
should we keep it going?
Let's keep it going.
See,
Until
my worry
Christmas.
though about the warm weather is the germs are not going to be killed. So I
You're
have a
worried
theory.
about germs?
Well, I have a theory that when you don't have sustained cold weather to kill off the germs, then that's when everybody gets sick.
Did you get your flu shot?
No.
You won't be.
You know what? I'm thinking
getting
of not getting one this year. I'm going to see if I can
Oh, no.
make it through.
Right.
Because I have a little, I have my own flu shot that I take every day.
Oh.
It's
You
not
wanna
a
share it?
shot.
It's a concoction?
Yes, I'll tell you what it is. It involves raw apple cider vinegar, a tiny bit of honey. Drink it down
Very good.
once a day.
Very good.
People swear by it.
There's no doubt about it. If you can drink apple cider vinegar, do it.
It's
Good
not.
luck.
It's not fun. I'll tell you that. You need to follow it up with a nice cup of something else,
Got it.
like tea or whatever.
Right.
Okay, enough chit chat. Thank you very much. See you next time.